Hello, I'm here to talk to you today about how I've customized my Traveler's Company passport size Traveler's Notebook. It's in camel and I've done a few things to it that have really helped it be mine. It's helped it feel like it's mine as opposed to a random Traveler's Notebook that I could buy from the store that anybody else could own. I own a few other kinds of traveler's notebooks and I love them. I love different brands. I love different companies. I love that there's a whole wide array of people who are creating these leather notebooks that we can then use for anything, for writing, for journaling, for art. I think it's really awesome. And I keep coming back to Traveler's Company. They were my very first Traveler's Notebook, all the way back when it was called Midori. That's my first one. And I like the simplicity, and I like that it was up to me to customize it. So today I'm going to talk to you about how I customized it and see if maybe I could help you figure out what you want to do with yours. So sit back, relax, and I hope this is helpful for you. So this is my traveler's notebook. There's a few things that I've customized, and I have some props here so that you can kind of get an idea of what I've done. So the very first thing I did, and I'll insert a picture here or a video here, I guess, something, but I went onto Amazon and I searched and searched for a leather wallet that was kind of natural or nude in color, that had an ID holder as part of the leather. And so it was honestly harder than I expected it to be, especially because I didn't want to spend too much money on it because I knew I was going to be tearing it apart. And I was able to find this company, and when it arrived, I was so pleased. I'll show you what it looks like. So this was the color, I think they called it apricot, which is puzzling, for this looks, maybe I would have called it sand or something, but anyway, it was a fairly nude color, and it actually had two ID holders. So it had this one, which is meant really in the wallet, it was like this, it was horizontal. And then it also had this one, a vertical ID holder. And I took a pair of scissors, which is, I'm sure, not advisable. I'm pretty positive it's best if you could use a seam ripper, but I didn't have one. So I took a pair of scissors and I took my Spyderco EDC, my everyday carry knife, and I went to town. I ripped up, and you can almost kind of see, like here, for example, I ripped up all the seams, and I didn't know exactly what I was going to find underneath. Luckily, it was all right. So you can see there's kind of this like satin lining, and the stitching underneath isn't necessarily beautiful, but that didn't matter because this was going to be sewn in here. So I had this piece, and then I had this piece, and I considered maybe trying to sew it on here myself. I don't have a sewing machine, so I would have had to use a needle and thread, and that just really wasn't what I was looking to do at the time. So I took this to a local cobbler, a shoe cobbler, and explained that I wanted it sewn on just on the edge here. You can see where it was sewn right here, all the way around. So I explained that I wanted it done like that on this front cover, and then on the back cover. That one I didn't mind as much what it would look like on the back, so I had him sew all the way around. It cost $10 total to have everything sewn together, which I have no idea how much shoe cobbling normally goes for, or leather work, but I was incredibly pleased with the end product, so to me it was really worth it. So I bought the wallet, I think was around $10, and then the work to have it sewn onto the traveler's notebook was $10. So $20, and I was able to have a really secure ID holder on both ends. I've ended up using this as a business card holder. It is a little floppier, which when it's closed, it still feels incredibly secure, so I'm not really worried about that. But the reason for that is because I keep my ID back here. My driver's license is in this pocket. And so because that's here, and because I have the Superior Labor and Baumkuchen wallet insert, this half of my traveler's notebook is really dedicated to my wallet. So yeah, so the very first thing I've done to customize my TN was to add 2 pockets to the covers. Something else I did, and this isn't really like a innovative thing, but I still love it, is I got this. I don't know if you can see it. I got this little tiny Baumkuchen brass charm, which stands for Trust the Process, which I just really loved. So I added this on here, and the other half of it, because it came with 2 little charms, is on my standard size, which is my art journal. So the next thing I did was I actually embossed the front cover with my full name and my email address. So I'm not going to show it to you, but I used this. I had this custom made from a seller on Etsy called Big Toy, and it is a brass leather stamp. I had no clue if this was going to be a quality product. I've never embossed anything before, so it was really a mystery. You can see it came with this hole in the back that you can screw this into, and I wasn't even sure, like, is this what I was supposed to do with it? Was I supposed to be doing something else? I don't have a press. I don't have really anything. I have hammers, and my dad had a rubber mallet, so that's actually what I ended up using. I took this, and I actually took all of my leather outside onto a cement patio, and I moistened the leather and placed this however I wanted it, and then use the rubber mallet to imprint my name and my email address onto the front cover of all of my traveler's notebooks, in hopes that if I were to lose it, somebody would be able to get it back to me, or at least contact me. Of course, it doesn't mean it'll really happen, but I'd like to believe that that's what would happen. Plus, I really like being able to have it customized again. So we have the pockets, we have my name and my email address embossed in the front cover. Then most recently, I added this. This is from a seller on Etsy called Crazy Organized, who sells traveler's notebooks actually and journal covers. And I contacted her because I saw that she had an add-on for her journals to add a pen loop that was riveted with, you guessed it, with brass. And so I contacted her and I asked if there was any way I could buy the pen loop and the rivets, but not a journal. And she was so kind. She helped me get everything together, sent it all the way from Australia to the United States. And I bought 2. So this is what the pack looked like. This was the extra piece of leather. I think this is probably more of her standard size, because I had asked if she would be able to make a smaller piece of leather, because I knew this was just going to be holding my Fisher Space pen. And she sent it to me. I actually just received it today. I've never riveted anything onto leather before, so who knows if I did this right. I might not have. But what I ended up doing was using a drill and drilling 2 holes into the cover and riveting it, I guess, is maybe how you would say it. I used a hammer to hammer the rivets down, and I'm very, very pleased with the way this looks. I considered putting it on the back cover because I think there's obviously more than enough room to do that, but I really like showing off what I've done to customize this traveler's notebook, to make it mine, what's different about mine versus somebody else's. And so I liked it being on the front, and it helps. This is brass, the pen is brass, the little bookmark is brass on the Superior Labor Baumkuchen wallet insert. These are brass, and so brass is kind of the theme. Oh, one more thing that I've done to really customize this. So, as you can see, I forgot to mention this. Because I put the pocket here, and this is where the elastic hole was, you can see it's covered. And so I was thinking about, like, well, what if I don't have him sew it up all the way, or what if I move it up or have the elastic coming out? Would that still work? Obviously it wouldn't work. So what I ended up doing was taking my drill and drilling a hole in the spine of the traveler's notebook. And luckily it worked out perfectly. I didn't know if it was kind of just gonna, because I wasn't punching out the leather, a little leather hole, I was drilling through it. But then I took the drill bit and got it really hot and then kind of seared the leather. And so you can see, I think you can see that it's a little black. That's because I put the really hot drill bit through the hole to kind of close the hole and to make sure that it was clean. And I put my elastic back there. I actually do prefer the elastic being on the spine. I'm noticing that in my standard size traveler's notebook, I find it kind of cumbersome for some reason having to pull it here, because when I'm pulling it down, I always pull it down like this. And when I'm doing that, there's just not enough room in the back. So who knows if I'm going to end up drilling holes in all of the spines of my traveler's notebooks. I may or may not, but for this one, it's really worked perfectly. And it's so easy to pop it on and I'm good to go. So yeah, those are all the ways that I've customized my traveler's notebook. Obviously, there's different things I've done to the inserts, but I do use this as my everyday carry, and it's completely customized to me. It's exactly how I want it based on my needs, and that's something that I really love about Traveler's Company, Traveler's Notebooks, and about doing anything yourself. So I'd love to hear from you. How have you customized your traveler's notebooks? What ideas do you have? What do you wish you could do? What are you scared to do? Would you do anything like I've done? Would there be anything different that you would do to mine? I'd love to hear it. I think really the lesson in all of it is don't be scared to make something your own. You've bought it with your own hard-earned money, and I think sometimes in this hobby, people really baby and treat their traveler's notebooks as if they were delicate, because most of them are leather and most of them are expensive and some of them are from overseas. And I understand where that impulse to not use your traveler's notebook comes from, and instead you put it on a shelf and you just look at it and sometimes take it down and stroke it and smell it and do whatever you want with your traveler's notebook. But that's not what they're created for. They're created to be used forever. I always take a little while after getting a new traveler's notebook of feeling comfortable just tossing it in a bag or putting it in my pocket or throwing it around. But eventually I get there, and then that's when my traveler's notebook becomes beautiful. It really kind of reminds me of the Velveteen Rabbit. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. It's a children's book, but there's a part in it where this little stuffed animal rabbit is talking to this older rocking horse, and he asks him, "How do you know when you're real?" And the horse says, "Well, you're real once you're loved, and all of your hair is rubbed off and your eyes are falling out. And once you're really loved, That's when you're real. And that's kind of how I feel about my traveler's notebooks. If we're talking very literally, I love these traveler's notebooks, and they're real. I use them daily. I do whatever I need to make them my own. And I hope that you can find the courage to do that with your journal and planner and traveler's notebook supplies. I think the more loved, the more beautiful they become. And I would love to see your well-loved, your real traveler's notebooks. So please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Okay. Well, that's everything from me. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.